I was too tired to argue the night I showed up on Dad's doorstep. I'd just lost my job, a company-wide reduction, they said, and I was humiliated. I felt like a little kid again, standing on his porch in the dark, hoping he'd open the door. He did, with a long sigh. "Fine, you can stay," he mumbled, stepping aside. I slept on the old couch, no blanket, one pillow that smelled like mildew. I told myself it was only for one night, just until I figured out my next move. Morning light came through the dusty blinds. I rubbed my eyes, walked into the kitchen for water, and there it was, a handwritten note taped to the fridge. "One night equals $50. Electricity isn't free." I thought it was a joke, but then I heard his dry cough behind me. "Can't just freeload around here," he said without even looking at me. My stomach dropped. I remembered all the times I'd sent money when he was behind on bills. No fight, no tears, I just grabbed my car keys. As I left, I dropped a single $50 bill on the kitchen counter. I didn't say goodbye. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I drove away. I told myself to keep my eyes on the road, but my mind kept drifting to the past. I remembered the evenings I'd skip going out with friends because Dad needed help with his medical bills after his back surgery. I'd pick up extra shifts at the diner, then wire him money. He'd say, "Thanks, you're such a good daughter." But it always felt more like an obligation than gratitude. The memories flooded in. Me scrubbing his floors when he couldn't bend down, fixing his leaky pipes because he refused to call a plumber, giving him my share of rent so he wouldn't lose the house, and the therapy sessions I canceled because he told me, "That's a waste of money. Toughen up." I'd listened, wanting his approval more than anything. Now, with one piece of paper on the fridge, he'd erased every sacrifice. I was just a freeloader in his eyes. The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut. My chest felt tight, anger and hurt mixing into something I'd never quite felt before. I pressed harder on the gas. I needed to get away from him, fast. I tried to distract myself, but an old photo of Mom slid out of my messy glove compartment when I searched for a napkin. It was a snapshot of her holding me on a sunny day at the park. She had that warm, easy smile I used to think was magic. Dad never smiled like that, especially not after she got sick. I remember the night she packed a small suitcase. I was only 10. Dad was yelling, "This house isn't a charity." She was too weak to work, and Dad's resentments piled up until they broke us. She left with tears on her cheeks, and I stood there, confused and helpless. I stared at the photo, realizing Dad had kicked Mom out for being useless. Now he was charging me for a single night. Different details, same pattern. A cold shiver ran through me. If Mom had been strong enough to get away, maybe I should have gone with her. But I was too young then. Now I whispered to the photo, "I'm sorry I stayed." I tucked it away gently, heart aching. It was time to stop letting his voice control my choices. I spent the next few days searching for somewhere to crash. I had maybe $1,500 left in my checking account, and 0 incoming paychecks. My credit cards were maxed. Finally, I found a rundown studio in a not-so-great part of town. The landlord showed me a cramped space with peeling wallpaper, a leaky faucet, and no air conditioning. Still, it was all I could afford. I signed the lease on the spot. That first night, I didn't even have a bed. I laid a blanket on the floor and curled up, my suitcase as a makeshift pillow. The pipes creaked overhead, and every car horn outside made me jump. It was nothing like the comfort I'd had just days ago, but at least I was free from Dad's judgments. I whispered into the dusty air, "This is rock bottom, Eli." My voice echoed in the empty space. "I'm not staying here forever. I'm never begging again." My heartbeat pounded with a strange mix of fear and determination. I didn't know how, but something in me knew I had to rise from here. Because if I didn't, Dad would be proven right, and that I couldn't bear. I needed a distraction from my misery, so I scrolled through social media on my dying phone. That's when I stumbled on a viral DIY video. Some woman turning an ugly old chair into a stylish piece of art. The transformation was incredible. I glanced at the corner of my studio. There was a small broken side table the previous tenant had left behind. The top was chipped, and the legs were wobbly. A crazy idea popped in my head. What if I tried to fix it? The next morning, I borrowed some cheap tools from a neighbor. I sanded down the table, sneezing from the dust. Then I rummaged through a thrift store for discounted paint. I spent hours hunched over it, lost in the process. Finally, I posted a few photos on Instagram, captioning it, "Trash to treasure. $35. DM if interested." Within 2 hours, a woman messaged me, eager to pick it up. She paid in cash. Something lit up inside me, a spark. If I could turn a worthless table into $35, maybe I could keep doing this. Maybe I could turn my life around, piece by piece. Early the next morning, I was out hunting the neighborhood curbs, local yard sales, and thrift shops. Chairs, small tables, broken mirrors. I took anything I could carry. My neighbors stared as I dragged random furniture up the narrow stairs to my studio. I'd put on music, tie back my hair, and work until my hands cramped, sanding and painting. I practiced techniques I'd learned from YouTube. Each finished piece looked a bit better than the last. I started an Instagram page and called it LyLye Home. Short and sweet, just like me. I posted regular before and after reels. Surprisingly, people started following me. They liked the rawness of my process. No fancy tools, just grit and creativity. More DMs trickled in, more sales happened. Even my friend Danny let me redecorate her tiny apartment for free, just so I could film the transformation. Her place looked amazing afterward, and she praised me publicly online. Look what my girl at LyLye Home did with thrifted paint and a dream. I read every comment, feeling a strange flutter of hope. This was the first time in my life I felt like I had a direction that was purely mine. A few weeks later, a family friend tagged me in a post. Apparently, Dad had heard about my new side hustle. He'd sent a text to that friend, and she screenshot it, by accident. His words were dismissive. "So she's flipping trash now? Classy." I stared at my phone, heart pounding with anger and hurt. Even though I'd cut him off, a part of me still hoped he might be proud. But there it was, plain as day. More of his judgment, more of his sneering tone. I tried ignoring it. I kept sanding, painting, uploading, but his words stuck in my mind like a splinter. I kept thinking, when will I ever be enough for him? That night, as I lay on my blanket in the tiny studio, I felt tears burn my eyes. Why did one comment from him still feel heavier than all the supportive ones from strangers? Eventually, I took a deep breath and deleted the screenshot. I told myself, I won't let him define me. Not anymore. Easier said than done, but I clung to that promise. Life became a blur of shifts at the coffee shop and furniture projects in my cramped studio. I'd arrive at the cafe by dawn, serve lattes and muffins until early afternoon, then race home to paint or polish or post something on my Instagram. My bank account slowly stopped bleeding. Instead of losing money on bills, I was actually stacking small bits of cash. I began to dream about a future where I didn't have to juggle 2 jobs, where I could do art and design full-time. Of course, my body was exhausted. My nails were chipped with paint, my muscles sore from lugging heavy furniture up 3 flights of stairs. Sometimes, I collapsed on the floor without dinner, too drained to even peel off my paint-splattered jeans. But each morning, I'd jolt awake with a sense of purpose. I might have lost a fancy office job, but at least now I was building something that was mine. Each piece of furniture sold felt like a tiny victory over the self-doubt Dad had etched into me. Late at night, I'd glance at my reflection in the chipped mirror. Eyes tired, but determination burning bright. I was far from done. It happened on a random Monday. An influencer, someone I followed for her home decor tips, saw my Instagram page and loved a retro coffee table I just posted. She messaged me directly. "Hey, love your style. Is the table still available? I'm redecorating my living room for my 2.5 million followers." I almost dropped my phone. She had millions of followers. I replied with shaky thumbs. "Yes, I can deliver it tomorrow." After I dropped it off at her loft, she gave me a big hug and said, "You're talented, girl. Keep going." The next day, she tagged me in a post, "Obsessed with LyLye Home. This woman is changing the DIY game." My notifications went crazy. People from all over wanted custom pieces. I was overwhelmed, but in the best way. That single tag tripled my sales overnight. Suddenly, I had orders stacked for weeks. I remember staring at my phone, tears running down my cheeks, thinking, I can't believe this is my life now. For the first time, I saw a crack in the wall that had always felt so solid. Maybe I was destined for more than what Dad's small-mindedness had taught me. With the money from the flood of new orders, I made a daring move. I rented a tiny warehouse space across town. It was basically an old garage with flickering lights and a lot of spiders, but it had enough room for me to paint and store furniture without tripping over everything. I hired my first part-time assistant, a cheerful college kid named Maria. She helped me sand down pieces and keep track of online orders. Having her around felt surreal. Me, a boss? At night, I'd collapse onto a creaky cot in the corner of the warehouse. It wasn't ideal, but it beat paying 2 rents. My studio remained my official address, but the warehouse quickly became my second home. I also launched a proper website for LyLye Home, something more polished than just an Instagram handle. My heart raced with excitement each time a new order dinged in. The lights in the warehouse buzzed overhead like a soundtrack to my dreams. I still heard Dad scoffing in the back of my mind sometimes, flipping trash, classy. But I let the orders, the praise, and my own growing confidence drown that out. I was on a mission. 6 months after that influencer post, I got an email from an editor at Architectural Digest. It felt so unreal I thought it was a prank, but it was legit. They wanted to do a short profile on 10 women redefining luxury home design. My hands shook when I typed back, "Yes, I'm interested." An AD writer visited my warehouse, asked about my process, my story. I shared the struggles, carefully leaving Dad's name out, but I was honest about the layoffs and the sleepless nights that fueled my passion. When the article went live, I was stunned by the positive response. 2 celebrities reached out, within a month, asking me to design statement pieces for their mansions. Suddenly, my brand wasn't just a scrappy online hustle. It was high-end and forward-thinking. One morning, I caught my reflection in the reflection of a glossy coffee table I was buffing. I looked confident, determined, even triumphant. I realized, I'm doing it. I'm actually building the life I dreamed about. And for a moment, I didn't think about Dad's negativity at all. I only thought about what I was creating. A name for myself, a real future. One evening, I posted a celebratory photo, me standing on the balcony of my newly purchased luxury condo. The city skyline behind me glowed like a promise of everything I'd worked for. The comments were a wildfire of congratulations and heart emojis. But then one popped up that made my blood run cold. "Nice to see my daughter finally doing well. Maybe she'll remember who raised her." My father, he didn't even hide behind a fake account. He put it out in the open. My phone buzzed with a voice memo from him. "Ely, I may not have been perfect, but I'm still your father. You think success makes you better than blood?" I froze, my stomach twisting. Even after I'd gotten this far, he still found a way to stab at my vulnerabilities. I tried to breathe through the hurt. Did he expect me to drop everything and cater to him now? Part of me wanted to block him and never look back. Another part felt that old pang of guilt. He knew how to push my buttons, and it was working. A couple of days later, Dad's Facebook posts started circulating among distant relatives and old family friends. People sent me screenshots of his words. "My daughter got rich and forgot the man who gave her everything. Now I'm sick and alone." The comments were vicious. Strangers called me ungrateful, selfish. Some demanded I fix things with my father. Others guilt-tripped me, reminding me that family is everything. I stayed silent, hoping it would blow over. But it only got worse. My brand page was spammed with hateful messages. "How dare you abandon your dad? Don't forget your roots." Finally, I snapped. I grabbed my phone, recorded a short reel, and told the truth. I didn't name him, but I didn't hide the details either. He charged me $50 for one night after I lost my job. I built everything without his help. Now he wants back in. I posted it and braced for impact. The response was explosive. Over 6 million views in 24 hours. People rallied to my side. They told their own stories of toxic parents. Big-name clients I'd worked with reshared my post, offering love and support. Dad's lies were exposed. It looked like karma had finally caught up. While my reels soared online, Dad's handyman job let him go. Word spread that he'd tried to manipulate me publicly. His landlord, who'd seen the chaos on social media, decided not to renew his lease. Suddenly, Dad was the one out on the street. One afternoon, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then answered. His voice came through, frail and shaky. "LA, can we talk?" I heard his quiet breathing, the rustle of what sounded like car upholstery. He continued, "I might have messed up. I'm alone here. Just need a place to crash." His voice cracked like old wood. My heart clenched. All my life I'd wanted him to ask for my help in a loving way, but now that it was happening, it felt hollow, like he was only calling because he had no one else. I paused for what felt like forever before saying softly, "I'll think about it." Then I hung up. I stared at the city lights outside my condo windows. I was the one with power now, and it terrified me as much as it liberated me. Days passed in silence. I buried myself in work, updating my website and finalizing designs for new clients. Every now and then I'd think about Dad living in his car. Part of me wanted to say, "Serves you right." Another part felt guilty. Then a text came in from a burner phone. "I'm living out of my car. You can't let your own father suffer." My stomach twisted. He'd perfected the art of the guilt trip. I could imagine his scowl as he typed those words. Did he seriously expect me to drop everything? I typed back a single sentence. "You let me suffer once too." I hit send, heart hammering. I stared at the screen, half expecting an explosion of angry texts. Instead, there was silence. No three-dot bubble. No reply. I wondered if I'd gone too far, but I also remembered that $50 note on the fridge, the years of being dismissed. He never hesitated to let me suffer. Was I a horrible person for setting boundaries? My heart pounded with conflicting emotions. Sometimes doing what's right for ourselves feels like the hardest thing. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet Dad in the lobby of my condo. He showed up in the same old jacket he'd worn for years, but there was a nervous energy about him now. He couldn't stop looking around at the marble floors, the doorman's polite greetings. "It's nice here," he muttered, glancing up at the high ceilings. "You've done well, maybe too well." I felt my shoulders tense. "It's my home," I said simply. We sat on a plush couch in the lobby, awkwardly. He cleared his throat. "Remember our fishing trips? Just you and me hooking those sunfish?" He gave a small, forced chuckle. I saw what he was doing, trying to spark some nostalgic warmth in me. I offered a thin smile. "Yeah, I remember." He sighed, looking around at the expensive decor. "This place must get lonely, if you had a spare room." His voice trailed off, but his meaning was clear. I swallowed hard. The same man who charged me rent when I had nothing now wanted a free ride in my luxury condo. My heart pounded. I had a choice to make, and not much time to decide. I spent a sleepless night thinking it over. The next morning, I texted him. "You can stay with me for 2 weeks, but there are rules, no guests. Respect my space." He responded immediately. "Of course, thank you." My assistant Maria was furious when I told her. "He treated you like trash. He's gonna ruin your peace." But I couldn't shake the voice inside me that said, "You owe him one chance." So Dad arrived the following day with 2 duffel bags. "I won't be a burden," he promised, looking around the condo like it was a museum. His eyes lingered on the floor-to-ceiling windows, the sleek kitchen appliances. I felt my stomach coil with anxiety, but part of me also felt relieved. Maybe this was my moment to finally heal old wounds, or at least see if they could be healed. That first night, we sat in silence over takeout Chinese food. He kept fiddling with the remote, complaining the TV channels were too complicated. I thought, 2 weeks. I can manage this. Little did I know how quickly it would all spiral out of control. By day 3, Dad was treating my condo like his personal kingdom. He'd invite random buddies over to show off the view. I'd come home from a client meeting to find dirty dishes piled in the sink and loud voices in my living room. One night, I approached him with caution. "We agreed, no guests." He shrugged. "Oh, lighten up, princess. My friends just wanted to see how well my daughter's doing. You got something against them?" I felt my heart pound with anger, but I kept calm. "Dad, this is my home and you're ignoring my rules." He rolled his eyes, flipping through TV channels. "Money changed you," he muttered. That stung more than I cared to admit. It was the same old line, implying I was suddenly a snob, because I'd built a better life. But I thought of all those nights I'd slept on a cold studio floor. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I swallowed them down. Money didn't change me. It just gave me the power to stop being used. He glared at me, jaw tight. I realized then, he wasn't going to respect me, no matter how kind I tried to be. The next afternoon, I tried a different approach. I showed him a flyer for a decent, affordable apartment down the street. "I can help you cover the deposit," I offered carefully. "It's not fancy, but it's clean and safe." He snorted. "So you're kicking me out? Some daughter you are." I shook my head. I'm giving you an option to stand on your own, like I had to." He snatched the flyer, glanced at it, then tore it in half. "You think you're too good for me? Look at you, living in luxury, and all you can spare is a dump?" He tossed the torn paper on the counter. My hands trembled, but I held my ground. 2 weeks were all I promised. "If you don't like this place, find something else. But this condo isn't your home." He stomped away, muttering curses under his breath. My face felt hot, my heart pounding. I remembered that $50 note, the coldness in his voice when I was desperate. My mind flashed. I'm not that helpless girl anymore. This condo was my sanctuary, and I'd fight for it if I had to. The next morning I woke up to find Dad rummaging through my fridge, slamming the door shut when he saw me. "Nothing but fancy stuff in here," he sneered. "Would it kill you to buy normal groceries?" "Stop it," I warned, feeling my teeth clench. "I'm done walking on eggshells." He spun around, voice booming. "You're done? Who do you think you are? Little Miss Designer thinks she's better than everyone now." Anger surged up my throat. "No, I just stopped thinking I was less." My hands shook, but I held his gaze. "You have 30 days to move out. That's final. No extensions." His face twisted with rage. "Oh, you're so generous. 30 days. You can't do this to your father." I almost laughed at the hypocrisy, but all I felt was heartbreak and exhaustion. "Actually, I can. And I will." He threw the fridge door open again, grabbed a bottle of orange juice, and stomped off to his room. My head felt like it was on fire, but in a weird way, I felt relief. I'd made my decision, and I wasn't backing down this time. After that final blow-up, Dad sulked in the guest room, only emerging to glare at me or slam doors. I avoided him as much as I could. Meanwhile, I secretly arranged a new home for him. I had my assistant Maria scout out a decent apartment near the bus line, close to groceries and a medical clinic. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and furnished. I paid 3 months' rent in advance and signed the lease under Maria's name, so Dad wouldn't know it was from me. I left the address and keys on the counter one morning with a note, "Go check this place out. It's fully covered, Eli." He never said thanks, but he packed his things that afternoon. I heard him slam the door on his way out. No goodbye, no gratitude. It reminded me of my own silent exit from his house back then. A heavy sadness weighed on me, but I refused to react. I sat on my sofa, listening to the quiet. For the first time, there was no tension in my own home, and that silence felt like the loudest victory of my life. I tried not to think about him, but rumors reached me that he was bitterly complaining to anyone who'd listen, calling me ungrateful, a heartless daughter who kicked him out to flaunt my wealth. Some of my cousins messaged me, asking for my side. Others told me I should forgive and forget. I drafted a single response and sent it to each person who reached out. "I wish him well, but I'm done. I choose peace over guilt." Then I blocked Dad on every platform, changed my phone number, told my building's security not to let him in unannounced. The freedom I felt was surreal. No more anxious phone checks, no more bracing for insults. I half expected to feel guilty, but mostly I just felt relieved, like I could finally breathe. I'd held on to the hope he'd change for far too long. Now I knew, change has to come from within. You can't force it, even with love or money. Sometimes cutting cords is the only way to heal, and it hurt less than I thought it would. That realization felt both sad and liberating. The next chapter of my life began with a new mission, helping others find refuge. I poured a chunk of my savings into a small transitional housing project for women leaving toxic or abusive homes. I called it Eli's Place, partly in memory of Mom. She never had a haven to escape to. We hired social workers, therapists, and a volunteer interior design team. I insisted on making the space feel homey, not institutional. Each room had warm lighting, soft bedding, fresh paint in calming colors. The women who arrived there carried stories of heartbreak, fear, and betrayal. I'd walk through the halls, greeting them with a smile and an open heart. I saw a piece of my mother in each of them. I recognized my own younger self in their trembling hands and teary eyes. Eli's Place became more than a shelter. It became a community of healing. We hosted workshops on self-care, job training, and yes, even DIY home decor. Watching these women find their footing reminded me why I'd fought so hard to break free. I thought about Mom often. If she'd had a place like this, maybe her life would have been different. Now, in some way, she lived on through these second chances. I spent a quiet afternoon reviewing paperwork in my condo when an envelope arrived from Eli's place. It was from a young woman I'd never met, but she'd asked the staff to pass it on. The letter read, "Dear Eli, I came here with nothing but a broken spirit. You gave me a bed, safety, and a feeling I haven't had in years. Hope. Thank you for proving good people still exist. You helped me before I disappeared completely." I wiped tears from my cheeks. For a moment, I flashed back to that old studio apartment where I slept on a blanket. I recalled the painful memory of the $50 note on Dad's fridge. All that darkness had led me here, to a place where I could shine light on others. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about turning my own pain into a safe space for those who needed it. Setting boundaries with Dad was just one step in finding my own strength. Building this shelter was the next step, one that felt bigger than me. I folded the letter gently and tucked it into my journal. Some stories deserve to be held close forever. Tonight, I find myself alone in my condo's small art studio. A few candles flicker against the walls. The silence wraps around me like a comforting blanket. No yelling, no guilt, no fear. I breathe in, savoring this moment. I don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. Not to Dad, not to random strangers online, not even to my younger self, who once doubted every step. I'm just me. My phone buzzes with a new email. Another celebrity client wanting custom pieces. I'll respond tomorrow. Right now, I close my eyes and let gratitude fill my chest. My journey isn't about showing off my success. It's about reclaiming my power and sharing hope with others. I think about all the women at Eli's place and how far I've come. My father's opinions no longer define me, and I've created a life where I can welcome people in or shut the door if they cross my boundaries. I smile because I finally understand true success is freedom. It's living on your own terms and refusing to let anyone put a price tag on your worth. I blow out the candles, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. I am free. Success isn't just about money or fame. It's about reclaiming your power, creating a legacy of kindness, and choosing your own peace. Eli didn't get even. She got free. And that's the greatest win of all.